you've seen all those AI software as a service websites that you can upload a video and you can cut it into vertical videos and add captions and even give you B-roll. But what if you could do it from your Adobe Premiere or your DaVinci Resolve? Well, you can with this tool. Auto resize, add chapters, zoom in, caption, remove silences, and a lot more. I'm going to talk about and show you how this program works. We're going to do it next on Geekazine. What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine. Think Magazine, put in a geek. Now, AutoCut is a plugin that installs on your PC, your Mac, and works with Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. It does connect to their cloud, so you're going to need an internet connection to use this. But from there, you'll be able to control your creations through an app you're familiar with. For these examples, I'm going to be on Premiere for the most part. We will jump over to DaVinci Resolve and see how it works there. But my proficiency is on Adobe products here. In fact, we have one already set up here. And we're going to take a look at this. But before we go any further, I do have to say that AutoCut did sponsor this video, and I am getting product from them. But all opinions are that of my own. If I go over to geekazine.com/review, you can find out all my policies and procedures. If you want me to review a product or a service, all you have to do is contact me there. Let's take a look at this. So basically, I created a video, and I do a lot of these videos. I do interviews with people, and then I have to cut them down and create a workable video from here. So this is the fully cut down version of a video that I created. And yes, it's me versus me. And we had a simple topic, and let's just play a little bit so you know what this video is about. So should consumers truly own the technology that they purchase? What do you think? Well, that's a very interesting thought, because owning the technology means owning the technology, but doesn't really mean owning the technology. And as you can guess, it goes on like that. We'll just stop it there. The whole point is that I've created this video. If you go through the whole video, there's basically three scenes. You have your host scene, you have your guest scene, and then you have a split screen scene. I record the two, and then I will go into something like Premiere. I will clean them up, match them together to make sure that they're going to work together. And then, of course, I will make a third video, and that third video being the split screen option. So there'll be me and the guest or two other people, and then bring that in. That way I can then go into the MultiCam editor and recut the video, and then post-produce and then send it out. This is the finished version of that, and I've got that all set up. So now what I want to do is I want to bring AutoCut into play here. In order to do that, all I have to do is go to Window and go to Extensions, and there's AutoCut right there. I'll open that up, and that'll take us to AutoCut. Now, once again, you're going to need an internet connection for this. It takes a minute, and then it'll load up. There we go. Now from here, we have many different options. The options we have are AutoCut silences, auto captions, AutoCut podcast, a new mode incoming, I guess. They just updated this app, auto zoom, auto B-rolls, auto viral, AutoCut repeat, auto profanity filter, auto resize, and auto chapters. These are the ones they have, including this new module coming soon. I can't wait to see what that new module is going to be. So when you open this up, the first thing it asks is, do you want to do the 14-day trial, or do you have a license? And then you put that all in there and get it to go. They also have a Discord channel. They also have a chat bot right here. So you just choose on that, and that's going to bring up your chat bot asking how you can help with AutoCut. We'll minimize the chat there. There we go. The first thing we're going to do is, let's say I've got this all set up. I just want to do captions. Those fun little captions you see on vertical videos and some HD videos. You want to put that into all of your videos, but you don't want to sit there and go back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose the auto caption option. And it's going to say best of auto captions. And there's always going to be a video that you can play to understand how this works. We've already gone through that, so I'm just going to click on there. This is the timeline, and this is what you see when you're ready to go. So there's only one audio and one video, but it does look at the other audios. We can choose one or none, and we can go like that. And audio one is the only one that we have, so therefore that's the only one I want us to choose. You could keep it at audio 2 or audio 3 if there's nothing there, but I just like to do that. We want to choose the entire timeline, and that's where this button, but we can do in and out points because the less time it takes to go up on the web and figure it out, the faster you get your editing done. Once we've defined the sections and once we've set our audio track, we go down to here and we say validate section. Select your audio language. And in this case, we're going to select English, and it's going to ask if you want to choose your SRT file. If you don't have an SRT file, that's okay. You can still move forward. But if you've created your own SRT file, that also helps. Sometimes I recommend that you do it. I'm not a big fan of Premiere or Resolve's auto transcription features. They make a lot of mistakes, including me saying Geekazine, whereas other LLMs can recognize that. For some reason, Resolve and Premiere just don't. So with that, I use an AI transcription. But in this case, we are going to see what AutoCut's going to do. We're going to hit the open, and it's going to render the timeline. Now we've gone through this, and it's basically given us a transcript down here, which we can edit if we want to. We just choose the edit button, and we can change whatever we need to. It looks like it's done a pretty decent job in doing the transcription. So we're going to hit save. And then what it'll do is it will add that. Now you notice that it's kind of on the bottom there. We can now change our editor style in however we want. If we want the fonts, if we want the animation, do we want that to have a color highlight on it? Do we just leave it as it is? Do we want a nice red or a green or a yellow, or we'll change it to green? We can choose a bigger font. So we've got all these settings to do that. And we'll apply the style, and then it comes back here. Plus there are some preset fonts here. So we can go Garby Lane, we can go Kai and Emma, but let's do Garby Lane. I like that. Now finally we want to do a position and size, so we'll do that. We'll bring that in here. And we definitely need to bring that up a little bit. Change the font, maybe make it a little bit smaller. That works a little bit better for me. We could do 1 line, we could do 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. See if make it even a little bit smaller. Maybe that's too much. We can bring the Y position up. So now our captions are here. And then of course we can change the width. So to make it a little bit smaller, something like this. And maybe this font size a little bit smaller. We'll bring it down a little bit. And then the width will move right about there. I like that a lot. We have the safeguards, which basically show us for the platform if we're doing a YouTube, a vertical video or horizontal video in many different formats. And then we can hit the preview, but you go ahead and apply the style. Now the text, it was working at where we want it. And I can add these captions into the video. And it didn't take that long to do. I'd say under a minute. So let's go ahead and go into the page here. And as you can see, there's the captions. It does a caption track just like if you were doing it in Premiere. So there's the caption track. And if we double click on it, there's our captions. So if we need to make any changes specifically for like this one, then we can definitely do that. But now we have our caption track. We're good to go. So you could have voice 1 do caption A, and then for separate track captions, you could have caption track 1 captions and then track 2 captions, or bring it both together and do full captions for both. For the most part, we've got this caption set up and we're good to go. When I first got the software, I wanted to run a test. So I found an older vertical video and I put it into here. So I wanted to test out the AutoCut for viral content. I grabbed my video, I put it into Premiere, and then I did the text tools. So this is the test. And as you can see, the Apple building. Now, what's cool about this is now I can do a lot more inside my Premiere. Like, for instance, that center part that's just going and saying what AutoCut is. I basically made that myself. So I had a little bit of additional editing to it. Whereas some of these software as a service websites don't have that ability. You can bring them down in a Premiere format, but it's usually a bunch of chunks of video that really don't make much sense, and you can't do any extra editing. Like, for instance, if it missed a couple words at the end and I wanted to extend it out, it's not going to do that. This, I can actually make those changes and fixes. All right, let's go to something that I haven't done too much yet, and that's auto resize. This is basically going to turn this video into a vertical video for bite-sized content for your shorts, for your reels. Now, it's going to give us the instructions. We're just going to bypass that. As you can see, we can choose the entire timeline or the in and out points. Let's do the entire timeline once again. We're just going to do audio 1, and it's going to analyze the sections. So we validate the sections. Do we want a TikTok? Do we want a YouTube FHD, which is basically a horizontal video? Or do we want Twitter squares? We're going to do TikTok shorts and reels. So as you can see right there, we checked that box. It's going to say follow subject speed. We can choose the speed at which the camera will follow the subject. I'm going to choose fast rather than normal. And then it asks underneath if we want to put a watermark. I'm not going to do that, but I'm guessing that's going to open up Finder or your File Explorer, so you can choose a watermark to put on there. We're just going to leave that at that. That's actually going to be great if I do any type of videos for a client. I can put a watermark on there and then send it off to them. If they like it, I can take the watermark off. So I'm excited about that. So let's go ahead and hit the resize sequence. It's going to go and start and run through the whole video. It's going to resize it, and it's done. That was pretty quick. We're going to close that out. And now, so we're going to see what happens. So it's not taking the split screen that well, but because as I zoom this in, as you can see, now it's seeing me. And maybe it got confused because it sees me and me rather than me and somebody else. Now, I'm going through my conversation to fix it. I can make some edits right there, and I'll hit cut, and we'll let that go until it flips over. There we go. Bring it back, and right there we cut that part, and now we've got this section right here. So when I cut it, it actually changed it. I didn't have to do a thing. Now it's not staying on the speaker that I wanted it to, but you get the idea. And I really didn't want it like this. I actually want to change that. I'll turn off the I'll turn on the FX motion. So now it's not going to do any type of tracking. It's just going to show the two people. So there's the two people, and that'll go until it comes back to the person. So it is actually tracking. If I moved my head left or right, it would actually track. And I'm now seeing that a lot more. Since this was a very static head video, you don't see that too much. So that is a great way for me to bring that in. So what I would like is the ability to say, hey, if you see two people in frame, just bring it down and fit the scene into the frame, or split the scene. I didn't see a way to do that. But for the most part, as you can see, we're back, and I can go back into this part, and now we're back at this point. Now, you might think that that's a lot of extra editing, but in all reality, if you use these websites, they have those same problems, and you still have to go in and make changes. So now I've got this section done, and I went from there. Now, keep in mind, this is a completely finished version. I did the sequence and cut the podcast, and then put just the podcast results into here. So now it's time to bring it in through a multicam sequence. Oh, I'm ready to make a podcast. I've got my guest, my host, and then my split screen. And I made a little mistake while I did the rendering, and I put the guest audio on the host track. So I had to flip those around. You can kind of see that with the blue down there. Now I can choose the AutoCut podcast option. So I'm going to do that. So it goes through and thinks about it for a second. So a 6-minute, 30-second clip here. So I'm going to choose the entire timeline, and I'm going to take out audio 3. I don't want that. That track 1 was the host and track 2 was the guest. Like I said, I had to flip it because I messed up on that audio. That was my fault. But let's go ahead and hit validate sections. And that takes us to the next screen right here, which I've done a little bit of configuration already. The first thing that it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, can you identify the speakers? Track A1 is Jeffrey. Track A2 is Jeff. Or, of course, it's going to ask for the cameras. So we'll have 3 cameras. Track V1 is Jeffrey. Track V2 is Jeff. And track V3 is actually both Jeff and Jeffrey because it's a mix of both of us. We've got some new features in here. One's called reaction shots. If this is checked, it will flip over to the other person that's not talking and kind of get their reaction. Since we have that third track, which has both guest and host on there, it can also get that option. Let's keep going down. We have the shot duration. You can say, do you want the durations to be very fast, energetic? So that's basically doing a little AI to keep everybody in frame. I have it set to paste, which is about 4 to 30 seconds here, and that's perfect. We've got the multi-camera editing right here, which it basically uses Premiere's multi-camera to switch cameras. We've got that checked. And finally, there's a preset area. So if you hit the plus button, you can add the preset name and then, of course, do a little bit more configuration. I'm not doing anything with that right now. We're going to start the podcast editing. The process for 6 minutes, 30 seconds. It says no audible tracks, but it looks like all my tracks are locked. That's probably why. Got to make sure everything's unlocked and unmuted. And then we can come back in here and we've still got our settings. So let's go ahead and start podcast editing. So now it's going to go through the process. Same thing with the video is you can't have that locked. So now for a 6 minute, 30-second video, it's going through this. And depending on your computer, depending on your internet connection, it might be a little bit longer, might be a little bit shorter. We're on a ZBook that's about 2 years old and with an i9 processor inside. It's now doing all the cutting and now it's done. And that took under a minute to do. That's great. Now, the question is, did it work? And maybe, maybe not. We'll see what happens. The first time I did it, like my audios were flipped. And of course, every time that somebody was speaking, the other person. But it now got that fixed. So let's go ahead and I'm going to mute and then we're going to watch this. Let's go. Should consumers truly own the technology that they purchase? What do you think? Well, that's a very interesting thought because owning the technology means owning the technology, but doesn't really mean owning the technology. We did see some cuts. I thought that they were really good, but you can always make the adjustments after the fact. The one cut that didn't happen was at the beginning. It was still on the guest rather than the host, and the host was speaking. To fix that, just like with multicam setup, we go into the multicam editor, and now it's on camera 1 asking the question. And then it flips over to the other person when they are talking. Now, at the beginning, you heard a little bit of echo. That was track 3. The audio was still unmuted. Once you have made the podcast edits and you have that third track, basically the safety track, you have to mute the track. Otherwise, you'll get the echo. And that's what we got there. So now it's using track 1 and track 2. So now I can go into the audio settings of Premiere and make small adjustments. Let's say person 1's a little bit louder than person 2. Get that leveled out, or maybe a little bit of EQ, maybe a little bit of correction, but I still have that ability. You remember when it actually went to this split screen? I thought it did it at a very pace. But if it gets a little bit long or a little bit short, and you still have the ability to edit it, like with the multicam editor. So this is just basically puts the multicam editor shot on the top layer. You can make the changes that you need to make for the podcast, but it looks really good. Some small minor adjustments to it. You could probably watch that at twice the speed and make the corrections. I really enjoyed how this looked. And I think we have to unmute this channel once again, but we can do the auto zoom. But I'm thinking of adding some B-roll. So let's go ahead and choose that. We want the entire timeline to figure out what the B-roll might be. We're going to validate the sections. It's going to ask us a language, which we're going to say English. We want video footage and AI images. We can customize the AI images for our own prompts if we want. But I'm just going to let it run and see what happens. How dense you want the B-rolls. It's set to the default. Yeah, we're going to do it less than more because this doesn't really justify a lot of B-roll to it. We're going to hit that and we're going to hit next. It's going to go through StoryBlocks to do the video. So as long as you have a valid subscription, you have StoryBlocks with AutoCut. And now it's going and doing the rendering. This is probably going to be more internet intensive to try and do some AI and figure out the images that could be inserted into this conversation. This may take a few minutes to do, and this is a 6-minute, 30-second interview. So it took a little bit longer, like I thought, but not that long. I mean, go upstairs, refresh the coffee, come back down, maybe you're good to go. So now we have some B-rolling, like a device from here. So there's a device. We can put that in. We talk about the physical CD. I'm going to put all of these in just to see how they look. And then, of course, we'll watch the bits and see if they actually fit. I hit Add B-roll, and it's going to go through the process and put that into the spots. Hopefully, it's an overlay track that will do that so I can make any type of adjustments to the B-roll. I mean, as you can see, it's taking a little bit longer, but not too bad. It's still under a minute for a 6-minute, 30-second podcast. So let's go ahead and minimize this. We've got our tracks here, and let's see if we've got a B-roll track. Yep, there we go. So there's our B-roll track. Oh, if I'm talking about something, and I'm not sure what I'm talking about, let's change this back to this. First of all, this is playing a little bit too long, but it also overlapped on the split screen, which I don't want to have happen. So I'm just going to take this and bring this over here. So I see myself a little bit. So there's the split screen. You see how easy it is to edit that technology. So there it is right there. Instead of owning a physical media, I can also take this media. If it works, if it doesn't work, I just trash it, of course. But I can also take this media and do this super quick. Put this over here. Bring this up. And I might want to have a little bit more room to play with. So what I'll also do is I can zoom in a little bit, move this over, move this down. Now look at that. We'll go back over here because I want to reposition that just a little bit. Get that off the middle there and up a little bit. So now I have this scene. The next the host is, or the guest is talking. The digital aspect, you get the split screen. Come back where you instead of owning a physical CD, we have an overlay. So, and I can also do other things. Like, for instance, I love doing this every now and then. I will set this up to scale and position. So it goes like that. And then right about here, we'll reset everything. Boom, boom. So now it will be like this. And I might just bring it over just a little bit right there. And then over like that. So I don't want too much of the overlay. So now we've got the split screen. I'll hit play. There's me talking. And of course, I'd probably put a little bit more length to it since it is an overlay. And we'll do an apply. I like to apply fade out, basically. So now I'm talking about digital media. So we could do that really quick. Come over here. Come to the channel. Hit position and scale. Bring this over here. Once that fades out, we'll reset. There's sometimes you'll have to make some changes, especially when you have two people talking and they're talking over each other. I'm hoping that's where that third screen will come in. Put that third screen in if I need to. I can edit it just like I would edit a multi-sequence. This video could be ready for podcast, and you just have to eagle eye it afterwards and make sure that those cuts are in the right place. So that's pretty awesome. I love that idea. Lots of cool stuff. We can add auto B-rolls. We could do the auto zoom. So it's going to explain it, but we'll pass by it. We're going to do the entire timeline. I'm going to unmute audio 3 just in case. And then we're hit validate sections. Do we want the speaker to zoom? Do we want the cut to zoom? Or do we want the emotion to zoom? We're going to keep it at speaker. We can choose how it zooms. Let's put it right there. And then it's going from 100 to 130. I just want to do slight zooms. So let's do 100 to 110. It's asking us below if we want to do the hard zooms, the jump cuts. I don't like those. Smooth and snap-ins. We'll do snap-ins. Do you want to do camera movement? We have that unchecked right now. I think I'll leave that unchecked. Track selection. Where do you want these to happen? And it's giving us a visual concept of where we want to put these zooms in. I'm going to leave that at that, and we're going to hit the apply zoom, and we're going to see what happens. And it's going through the process. 6-minute, 30-second interview. And this might take a couple minutes because it is trying to configure everything. And I think it also configures it with the B-roll in mind, but we'll find out. But it's definitely using the track, the multi-cut track. And this might be a little bit more of a longer bathroom break. And we're back. And that actually took about 5-6 minutes for that, but we definitely got this all finished. Let's see what we got here. And it's getting choppier, but I'm kind of seeing the zoom. This one's actually zooming in, zooming out. It zoomed out first and then zoomed in. So now let me just save this really quick. I'm probably going to take that B-roll out. Yeah, there's a little bit of zoom in there. You can kind of see that. So it's moving around. So we got a little bit. There's got to be a way for me to make sure that that's that main shot right there. Let's do that. We'll go back to that split shot right here and see how it did a zoom in, zoom out. Maybe turn off the effects there. So if it's zooming, you can see I'm turning on and off the effects right here. And so that is affecting. We are seeing the zooms here. I'm not sure what happened here. Let's turn this back on. That's at 100%. So maybe. There we go. It's doing it to the overall channel, I believe, somehow. But now I can bring that to, what, 95? And then it's at its regular size there. There we go. And then there's a little bit of zoom. We've got the B-roll, in which I put it in a different way. And we're good to go. I mean, so this is a pretty decent looking podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean it up. I'll probably take out that one B-roll because that was kind of weird. Of course, I've got to mute that last channel. But that is the podcast option. And it's looking pretty good. I mean, that's like a whole ton of work that I don't have to do. I can just let this thing happen. And that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's some of the features. There's a lot more features on here, including this new one coming soon. I can't wait for that. So this tool alone is just a unbelievable godsend. And that is the repeat. So you don't see this in my recordings, but basically I stop and have to restart something. So I'll say like, here we have a turtle or anything like that. And so there's repetitive words. That's what all these reds are. It's thinking that that's repetitive. And sometimes it's correct. Sometimes it's not. But if we go through, I already nixed out a few things. Like for instance, up here, it says, well, you can see with this tool. And then of course I did it a second time. I'll take like 2 or 3 runs. I'm gonna talk. And a lot of YouTubers do that. That's why we have jump cuts. So, but the other thing is it did get it wrong. Like for instance, this one right here, it took out, if you want me to review, and then left this in. And really just to fix it, all you have to do is highlight the area, and notice how it just switched white. And you highlight this area, and now that's red. And let's see if we can do it this way. Now it's all red. Now this line's white. Now this line's white. Let's fix that really quick. There we go. You can see that now what it'll do is it'll actually take out those lines. I still have a lot to go through on here to make sure that it's correct, but it's definitely going to be a little bit easier than letting it run through and trying to take it out. Because the one thing I always hate is if I take 2 or 3 runs to something and then I just edit out that one run and then I realize that I took another run at it. I'm hoping that this will fix that so I don't have to edit and then realize that I had to take that section out to begin with. And like I said, it does work in DaVinci Resolve. And the best part is the license is on the machine. It's not in the program. So if you're using Premiere and you need to switch to DaVinci, you can do that pretty easy. You just call up your project, you go up to Workspace, you go down to Scripts, and then AutoCut will be right there. You'll choose that. And then within there, AutoCut pulls up. It sees your license. It then checks the resources and then gives you what you need. This does have something different about this. We got the silences, we got the captions, we got podcast, the coming soon, the AutoZoom, AutoCut repeat, auto viral, auto B-rolls, profanity filter, and chapters. And there was something right here, I believe. As you can see, you can do a lot of the stuff with AutoCut in DaVinci that you can do in Premiere. So you'll be able to cut your podcast. You'll be able to take out the silences, take out the profanity, and then, of course, create captions. It looks like the auto reframe is the one thing that's kind of missing here. So there is a slight little difference. And as this thing grows, maybe this new module will work in DaVinci, but it won't work in Premiere or vice versa. So that happens. If you have any questions, any support, they have the Discord down here. They have the chat area right down on the bottom there. Your rank, which tells you how much you've used AutoCut here. Let's talk about some pros and cons with this thing. There's basically 2 cons. The first con is you need internet access or else it doesn't work. If you forget to connect it up to a network, you have to close everything out, come back in. It's a small thing, but it's basically 1 license per machine. And for me, I do a lot of editing on the go and at my desktop, switching over to be able to do 2 machines on 1 license. There's many different programs that do that, and I really wish that they had that. You know, like with Adobe, have the ability, if I switch over to another machine, I can actually unregister 1 machine and then use it on another machine and then unregister that and come back here, all through just basically logging in. It says, hey, you need to unregister one thing. It'd be nice to do that as well. But in order for you to use, let's say, your laptop, you have to deactivate the desktop or get 2 licenses. The positives are pretty good. But as you can see, there were a lot of pluses when we did the podcast, when we did the captions. See the auto captions go off the screen. It's an easy way to bring it back on. And I was using the beta version of Premiere with the new color grade features and other new stuff in there. So I did do captions on Premiere itself before I started this, and I was able to get captions. No, other than that, it's a really great program to have, especially if you don't want to work in the web programs, to create viral shorts, to create your podcast, edit down your podcast, at least get some help in doing that. So you can go through the final edit, make the last changes, and then get that out the door as quick as possible. B-roll adding, of course, I'll have to play with that a little bit more to get more fine-tuned B-roll for what I have. But they always say adding B-roll, adding more scenes is a great thing to have when it comes to pushing out videos. So I can add more. And of course, using something like StoryBlocks along with AI will allow me to create some really cool stuff. And I'm really excited to see how that happens. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Of course, to get AutoCut, there's a 14-day free trial, but we'll go over to pricing. Basic plan is about $80 a year. The AI plan is about $179 a year. And then you get all the AI functionality and the profanity filter. The basic, you just basically get AutoCut of silences. If that's all you need, that's perfect. They have the enterprise plan. And if you contact them, you might be able to get a more customized plan, especially if you have multiple users. So definitely contact and let them know that I sent you, Geekazine, of course. And of course, we'll have a link with code and everything like that down in the description below, so you can check that out. And of course, that'll help me keep the lights on. And I thank you very much. And I'd like to thank AutoCut for sponsoring this video. I wouldn't have been able to look at otherwise. And I'm going to be using this in the future. You'll probably see some future videos from me using AutoCut, because it's a great addition. If you're using Premiere, if you're using DaVinci, you've got another tool that could have some AI features to it. In fact, right here, I'm going to tell you how much work I had to do. And it's just going to show this little edit guy. It's going to tell you how much work I had to do post AutoCut for this video alone. So you know how I edit. I basically do record with a camera switch or two, and then that record goes into Premiere, where I cut it down, take out the pauses. So we'll see how that handles all of that. And then, of course, I'll tell you how much difference that was in making the edits. So a little bit of work to get it going, but once you've got it done, and you're good to go. And then, of course, it can also then make some viral clips for you, so you can put it onto your socials pretty easy. So what do you think about AutoCut? Do you use it yourself? Let me know in the comments below over at geekazine.com, youtube.com/Geekazine, where you can like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Until next time, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out and AutoCut on with AutoCut.